I think obviously I'm going to think that the piping degree is a really important project overall. It's important for the National Piping Centre in terms of what the National Piping Centre actually exists to do, I suppose. But I suppose that the idea of the elevation of pipe music to higher education, which is now, it's about 25 years that's been the case, but I think that elevation of piping into higher education, and I suppose importantly its sort of adoption by the Royal Conservatoire, formerly the RCA, but one of the leading performing arts institutions in the world. I think it says a lot about piping that it's taken seriously at an institution like that. So I think that there's that side to it. Beyond that, I think that the education and the opportunities that the pipers are afforded whilst they're on the course it's a really healthy, or points towards a very healthy future for piping, where pipers are seeing themselves beyond the kind of what can be quite narrow strictures of the piping world, and able to view themselves in a much wider context.
It all started because my granddad in England wanted someone in the family to play the pipes. And so when I heard about the chanter at primary school, I just decided that I would go for it and just see what would happen. I think the first time I actually tried to play the chanter was like at a fèis in Oban, but my hands were too small, so that didn't actually happen. But a few years later, I was able to do it again. Just, I suppose, progressed through high school, joined the pipe band, the trad group, and then that's kind of how I got into all the folky music. And then my sister was in RCS, so that's kind of how I knew about it. I thought I'd apply, see what would happen, and here we are. Well, I think what a lot of people don't always think about is that there's actually a lot of academic stuff to it as well. It's not just like all pipes, and I think that's quite a big kind of positive about the course, because even though you get to play your pipes, you get to play all the music you want, you still get all the theory behind it and the kind of the academic stuff that you need to know with the music. So it can kind of help you, I assume, for when you graduate. And it's not like you've just spent 4 years only doing one thing. Like, there's so many things in RCS that you can choose as well to that helps you out with uni as well. So I think that's probably one of the best things about the course. My recital is kind of linked to my research project that I did in third year, which was all about ornamentation with the pipes. So it's called Decorating the Melody. I basically was looking at different approaches that pipers take when they ornament their tunes. So I've got, in my recital, I've got kind of specific composers that I've looked at. So I've got a set from Fred Morrison, Alan MacDonald and Donald MacLeod, and then I've also got a set that kind of focuses on European tunes, and kind of fitting the style from different countries into the Highland pipes. And then I also, for one of them, I stripped ornamentation of the tunes that I didn't know, and then I added my own to kind of see what my own creative style process would be.
As a teacher on the course, more so than an administrator for it, it's really gratifying, obviously, to see students that you've given input into throughout the academic year. Particularly, I think, when you see the sort of artistic vision that they're starting to pursue. When you move beyond the technicalities and intricacies of being a piper, I suppose, the mechanics of the instrument and the technical ornamentation that we're really used to. When we're able to sort of move beyond that and look at the artistic direction, that for me is the sort of exciting part about the course. And there's certainly quite a few of the students that are kind of well down that path now. So I just really hope that they are able on the day of the recital to kind of give of their best in that sense.
I've been playing pipes since the age of 10. I first started going to school in North Uist, where they had like a residential sort of tutor. Then I received tuition from Norman McLean, a sort of famous Gaelic entertainer, and that was originally first for Gaelic song, and then I think he found out I played pipes as well, and then he just sort of gradually shifted focus over to pipes. But more recently, that's all with Highland pipes. More recently, since lockdown, I've taken up a set of small pipes and really taken to them to the point now that I'm actually studying them on the course, which is, I think it's a first, which is really encouraging for just piping in general. I think in Scotland it's cool to see that other things are happening, and it's maybe slightly becoming a bit more fluid than what might have once been quite a traditional sort of outlook on the course. Being in an environment where everybody is at such a standard and you take from everybody, you know, like my year, I'm third year at the RCS now, and the 6 pipers, including me, that are on the course are all wildly different. We play really different stuff, but we get on really well, and we take from each other all the time. Every performance class, you've got your Kjolbik and your Piprak Pit, you know, all these module classes and optional classes. You're always taking bits of other people's music and kind of absorbing it, and then whether you know it consciously or subconsciously, you're taking that forward definitely with your own music. My recital will be the first bellows pipe recital, and I've tried to channel that quite a lot and kind of keep that as the theme, because there's a lot of innovation on bellows pipes right now. You know, I can get a few more notes than a Highland pipe can right now. They're all raging about it, but it's true. And basically what that means is it's about showing how that innovation is positive, and it's not just for the sake of having more notes. It fits a purpose, and it more importantly actually fits the instrument, and you're not just, you know, it's not a necessity. Like those notes are there, and those extended techniques are there to be explored, and they are definitely their own thing. And there's also just things that you can do with bellows pipes which you just can't entertain with a mouth-blown instrument, such as singing. I sing in Gaelic as well, and that's been a huge plus to be able to sort of return to my roots as learning to sing before I even picked up a chanter. That's really exciting, and something I'm definitely exploring in the art form of Piprak song in my recital. So, and the preparation for that is really, it's not too different than I think how any other musician might perform. It's knowing your material and being confident with it, and just making sure you prepare in the best way. And that could be any way. We all have our different motives, but I suppose, yeah, at the end of the day, you're wanting to show yourself and show originality, and even if you can give some of that over, I think that's a better performance for me personally than having a flawless performance, which I don't see a lot of soul in. So that's my mindset going into it. Like if I can show a bit of my own music and make a few mistakes, that's better for me than playing an MSR or something that I just don't subscribe to at the minute with my playing. So the recitals for 3rd and 4th year are 45 minutes, and that has to include everything from tuning to chat to tune playing, asking other people to join you on the stage, everything. And I've got a real mix. I've got that sort of Piprak song solo element where it's just me and the pipes. I've got some sets that are also just me playing. But there's also a lot of stuff I'm exploring in terms of Irish music. I've taken a real interest in the playing of Martin Hayes this year, and I did my research project on him and his style. So I've taken a lot of that into my recital with tunes such as the Sailor's Bonnet, which you wouldn't be able to play without the innovation that's taken place on a small pipe in relation to the notes that we can now tangibly just have, as opposed to if you were playing on a Highland pipe. So there's those sort of themes that I'm trying to really stick to, because I think that's at the end of the day, my theme, or what I want to portray, is how the small pipe is absolutely in its revived mode. You know, I think it's very recent that it's been revived. It was in a revival period for a long time, and my recital is, I'm hopefully just gonna celebrate that fact.
I first started getting into piping because of my dad. He played pipes all his life as a kid and then stopped. And then when he had a midlife crisis, he decided to relearn the bagpipes as part of that kind of period of his life, and decided to do it with me as well. And so a midlife crisis isn't probably very fair, but he was relearning.
Yeah.
And then I learned with him, and it went from there. Joined bands, competitions started coming to Scotland every couple of years to compete, and then applied for the course because I had nothing else I was really good at. And so, yeah, now I'm here. I think the positives in terms of the 3 years I've done so far have always been exposure to different types of piping. So I came here as a band player, competitive solo piper, with an interest in traditional music and an interest in other music. I've played all sorts of other instruments and kind of, my whole family's kind of involved in music to some extent. And the course kind of exposed me to all these other sides of piping and traditional music. And so it's actually now kind of diluted, you could say positively diluted my own musical voice, I guess. So things like playing in B flat and playing with other instruments, and also then just developing a musical ear out with trad, just generally. So the third year recitals and fourth year recitals have to be themed, and so for me, I was trying to create a theme that actually was somewhat meaningful to me, and so my repertoire this year for my recital has been my musical influences to date, traditional and non-traditional musical influences, piping and non-piping. So basically what I've aimed to do is have kind of bread and butter innate piping influences. People like Gordon Duncan, Alan McDonald take up a massive part of my repertoire, and then all sorts of arrangements that have come from other areas of music outside of traditional music, people like Simon Jeffers and Philip Glass, and then my own compositions. And doing that in an ensemble bass, so kind of with guitar and double bass and stuff. So that's kind of what I'm doing.
To be able to think of themselves as artists, particularly as students progress throughout the degree, second year, third year and fourth year in particular, where they should be hopefully really developing a keener sense of their own individuality as musicians and artists, and hopefully sort of starting to develop their own voice, their own artistic vision, which I think that's it's a relatively recent development for piping in general, I suppose. Like I said, we previously existed perhaps in a little bit of a bubble.
The competition and pipe band. And
yeah, solo and pipe bands as well. There are these two elements, the solos, the pipe bands, and the military side of things as well. But for pipers to be able to view themselves as artists in a much greater sense I think it's a great development, and I think the degree's been a really big part of that. The piping recitals are part of a wider festival of traditional music recitals from the Conservatoire. They take place at the Centre for Contemporary Arts, the CCA, on Sauchiehall Street in Glasgow, starting on Tuesday and run through to Friday, with the pipers taking place on Thursday evening. That's Thursday the 1st of June in the evening, and then all day on Friday the 2nd.